This is Florida's Gulf Coast, a beautiful haven home to snowbirds and spring breakers alike. But lurking in the water lies a dangerous threat, one that our animal population is warning us should be a public health concern. But are we taking them seriously? What is red tide? It is a naturally occurring harmful algae bloom in the Gulf of Mexico. While yes, it is a natural phenomenon, human activity has undeniably increased red tide's intensity. For the past 50 years, cattle ranchers, orange groves, and septic tanks have been the sources of fertilizer pollution that flow into Lake Okeechobee. A few times a year, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers releases the lake water into local rivers that feeds into the ocean. Essentially, Florida's economy largely relies on activity that pollutes our waters. This increase of nutrients in the water, as well as increasing water temperature due to climate change, feed harmful algae blooms. Red tide produces a neurotoxin that prevents marine life from respirating, leading to mass fish kills that wash ashore and make beaches uninhabitable. The most recent red tide bloom lasted over a year in 2018 and it spread to roughly 130 miles of southwest coastline in Florida. It affected the health and livelihood of those who live along the coast. 2,000 tons of dead marine life on Florida's Gulf Coast died from the bloom.
And once you got outside of the canal, it was just miles and miles of dead fish.
Wow.
Just as soon as you got to around York Island or in the shore cutoff, they were just everywhere. And they had been rotting in the sun for so long that their intestines had exploded and was trailing literally in front of them. And it smelled like hot fish soup.
Okay, and how did red tide affect your health?
Well, I have asthma, so the conditions in the air cause me to cough a lot, and I also work near the water, so I had a lot of issues communicating with my guests and some trouble. Had to go to the doctor quite a bit.
Okay, and how did red tide affect your community?
Definitely, I think since I work in the restaurant, we lost a lot of business that affected not just the business, but me personally. I struggled with tips because we didn't have as much tourism coming in. And then I know some personal people in the area as well. They had a hard time going out fishing and supporting their businesses as well.
Do you think red tide and climate change have a connection?
Yes, absolutely.
The trajectory of civic engagement on this issue needs to continue. Studies have recently been released that show how long-term exposure to red tide may cause lung cancer. We need to care deeply, and we need to care now. Our call to action is this: address the twofold causes of red tide exacerbation. Firstly, policies that prevent pollution of Florida's waterways will be crucial to prevent fertilizer runoff from feeding harmful algal blooms. Change starts locally, and constituents need to pressure community leaders to make the environment an important platform. Secondly, addressing the root causes of climate change can slow the warming of our oceans that turns natural events into life-threatening sagas. Only by preserving the natural cycles of our environment will the sun set on red tide fatalities.